Captain America is supposed to be a symbol for infallible, incorruptible heroism. He stands up for what he believes in at every single chance and opportunity, even when it is extremely hard for him to continue to stand up for what he believes in. Even when Captain America is at his lowest, like he was at the end of the first season of Earth's Mightiest Heroes, he was still willing to carry on the fight and be the best hero he could be. And while all of these things make him a great hero, it also makes him a prime candidate for the Skrulls to replace. Because who would people rally behind? Who would people believe more than Captain America? It's a genius move on the part of the Skrulls to take what is the face of the Avengers, their heart, and replace it with a body double, a Skrull who will be using it to their own benefit and their own gain. It's a genius strategy for the Skrulls to take, especially when Captain America is also viewed by the public as this great warrior for their safety. But just hold up one second. If you've stumbled across this video and it's the first one you're seeing from my channel, then you're most likely missing the video where I recapped Captain America in the first season of Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Is it 100% necessary to see? No, but it might help you make sense of some of the points I'm going to make further along the lines. Now, without further ado, let's talk about Captain America's false face, or the Skrull, who happens to embody Captain America for about the first 12 episodes of this season. Now, for all intents and purposes, the Skrull does a pretty damn good job of imitating Captain America, to the point that his fellow Avengers have no idea he even is a Skrull. But also to that forefront, the Skrull does not fully understand Captain America. From the third episode of the season, we see Captain America quickly embrace a brand new technology, that being his holographic shield made by Iron Man. Something Captain America was very adverse to, especially in the first season, was any adaptation of technology, but that's something we see the Skrull take full advantage of, along with updating his costume, which is just kind of out of character for someone like Captain America to do. Now, furthermore to this point, we especially see the differences between the Skrull and Captain America in an episode in which Amora the Enchantress is hunting down all of the former members of the Masters of Evil, who were some of the bigger bads from last season. Now, Amora is hunting these people down as retribution for messing up her plan, and in turn messing up Loki's plan, and getting Loki captured by Odin at the end of the first season. This all leads to Baron Zemo, Captain America's sworn enemy, begging the Avengers for help and protection. But Baron isn't really begging for the Avengers' word or their protection, no. They want Captain America's protection.
Your word.
Yeah, sure.
Not yours, Stark. His.
You have my word.
Zemo desperately wanted to get Captain America's word because he knows Captain America will always stick to it and stand by what he believes. And Captain America's beliefs is doing what's right. Now, going back on his word, even towards his sworn mortal enemy, would not be what Captain America deems as right. It wouldn't be in his best interest to do so. And so the real Captain America wouldn't. And Zemo firmly believes this, especially when he's talking to Skrull Captain America.
All of them would gladly let the Enchantress have her vengeance against me if it suited their needs. But not you. Not the noble Captain America.
Because Captain America has shown himself, specifically all of last season, to be a very noble man, someone who will do the right thing even when it's the hardest, and he will hold the Avengers accountable to do the right thing when it's the hardest, Zemo puts his absolute faith in Captain America. But the problem? This is not Captain America. This is a Skrull parading around as Captain America. While he might have Captain America's face, have his mannerisms, and have his memories, he is not Captain America. The Skrull doesn't share the same sense of responsibility and duty Captain America does. He doesn't share the same heart. So he was more than willing to let Zemo absolutely get trounced by Amora the Enchantress if it simply benefited him. And the only reason Zemo wasn't taken out was because he threatened to use a Norn stone of which he had gathered in the past. And even Zemo takes note of this change in Captain America, but he still can't put together two and two that maybe Captain America isn't who he says he is. He just simply thinks Captain America has changed. And these are just some of the few examples in which we see the Skrull acting quite differently from how Captain America might himself. Another example is when Ronan the Accuser shows up as one of the Kree warlords, basically asking that Earth surrender and give itself over to the Kree as a strategic point for the military in the Kree versus Skrull war that is currently happening. And while the people of Earth are obviously not trying to involve themselves in this war, the Avengers cannot just sit down and roll over and let Ronan the Accuser steampile the world governments and take over the planet. Now, of course, they also are not trying to get into a large-scale battle with a military of which they don't know the full capabilities of. But since Captain America is a Skrull and is on the other side of the war, he of course wants the Avengers to fight and to attack.
Asks, surrender. Surrender and we can work something out. Avengers, attack!
Extremely uncharacteristic of Captain America, he is the one to throw the first punch. He is the one to attack. That's just not something Captain America does, but it's something the Skrull does, because the Skrull does not want Earth, a strategic environment they are trying to take over, to become a pawn of the Kree, or to have any sort of relation to the Kree, who happen to be the Skrull's greatest enemies. And he does all of this while communicating back to his Skrull home base on their gigantic ship that is currently orbiting just outside of Earth. Now, to make everything even worse, around episode 10, Tony Stark finds out about the Skrulls from Nick Fury. It was Nick Fury's idea to bring up the idea that potentially there's a mole inside of the Avengers. And what's really funny is Captain America doesn't get much fingers pointed at him. They're instead pointed at Hawkeye, T'Challa. They're pointed at Carol Danvers, who happens to be from space. And of course, Hawkeye, this being nearly his second time being accused of being a traitor, he's not exactly going for this. And in this one single act, the Skrulls got exactly what they wanted. They fractured one of the Earth's key fighting forces, that being the Avengers. Tony Stark doesn't trust a single one of them. He starts to list out a potential reason why everybody on the team could be a Skrull. And so he decides that he is better off without the team. T'Challa leaves because he cannot trust the team. Carol Danvers leaves because she cannot trust the Avengers. But oddly enough, in the most Captain America thing that the Skrull actually ends up doing is that he unites the rest of the Avengers, that being Hulk, Wasp, and Hawkeye. He unites those four under one single banner and gives a pretty damn good speech in the process of doing so. It is the most Captain America thing the Skrull did, but at the end of the day, it is simply to further the Skrull's ambitions, as now Captain America is the leader of what's left of the Avengers, which of course does not bode well considering he is a Skrull and isn't actually the real Captain America. The Skrulls' plans are essentially working perfectly. They have their hands in everything. The Queen of the Skrulls is working with Nick Fury pretending to be Mockingbird. Captain America is entrenched in the Avengers. They have high-ranking members in S.H.I.E.L.D. and SWORD, which is the Intergalactic Protection Unit of this universe. Now, the final example for the Skrull that I really want to go over in this video is the way in which he treats his teammates, and this is highlighted in one of the episodes in which we are introduced to Red Hulk. Now, Red Hulk is basically there causing chaos on the S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier, all in a bid to make regular Hulk, who is actually having his one day off a month, look absolutely terrible, all in the event that hopefully Hulk gets himself ousted and gets himself arrested. Now, it's obvious to not only us, the viewer, but to the Avengers that Red Hulk obviously isn't Hulk. Bruce Banner is quite literally on his day off and hasn't even been Hulk at all, and Red Hulk is causing severe problems and is in fact attacking both Bruce Banner and the rest of the Avengers. But that doesn't really matter, especially not to Skrull Cap, as this is his way of getting rid of Hulk. You see, when Hulk finally does come out to play and they are able to take down Red Hulk, Captain America convinces Hulk that he needs to give up and stand down to the military that has come to arrest him because they believe he did the actions of Red Hulk. I don't know how they can't tell the difference, the two are two different skin colors, but you know, that's besides the point. But Skrull Cap quite literally convinces Hulk to turn himself in. And of course Hulk believes Captain America, because Captain America has always gone to bat for Bruce Banner and the Hulk at every single step of the way. And the Skrull takes advantage of that and sends Bruce off to prison, all because it would better serve the Skrulls if he wasn't around. So, you may be wondering, where's the real Captain America during all of this? Well, the Skrull is running around wearing his face, using his memories and abilities all for its own benefit in the search and pursuit of making their new empire on Earth. Well, Captain America has been captured. He is being held in captivity by the Skrulls as they are desperately trying to get more and more information out of him, even though it isn't exactly working as they planned. Mainly because Captain America is just immune to their torture. He quite literally will not give them any sort of information, and in my opinion drops one of the coldest lines in the entire TV show.
There is. Name, Stephen Rogers. Rank, Captain. Serial number, 54985870. And that's all you're ever going to get from me.
And so, of course, the Skrulls try to switch up tactics. They basically try to pretend as though the Avengers are coming to save Captain America and free him from Skrull prison. But Captain America knows his team inside out. He can easily spot when his teammates are not being replicated to a T, and so Captain America is able to quickly and easily pick out the fact that these are all Skrulls. It is not the actual Avengers that have come back in order to save him. And instead, this is actually how Captain America decides to launch his escape. Also, cool nod to him picking up Thor's hammer right there. And while planning his escape, Captain America ends up running into Viper, who happened to be a part of Hydra, somebody Captain America has fought against before, only for him to realize that he fought against the Skrull version of her. Now, what's interesting is Captain America is very willing to partner with the enemy back on Earth if it means escaping the Skrull ship alive, but also means saving just about everybody on the ship. He would rather put aside their differences, all in an event to save as many people as possible.
Bro, we may be enemies back on Earth, but right now, we have to work together. I don't like it any better than you, but we have to trust each other.
Captain America was willing to put his life on the line and his faith in somebody that is supposed to be his enemy. He was not only able to inspire Viper, but he was also able to free all of the humans that the Skrulls had been holding captive and been using as puppets for their own gain. And something we see much we did back in season 1 is that throughout this episode, Captain America is very willing to risk his own life even for his enemies. Captain America does not believe in leaving anybody behind, even if they are not on his side. He believes in due process. He believes in protecting people. Captain America believes in people. And these acts that Captain America takes, they don't just define him, but they also inspire others around him. They inspire others to do the right thing, even if it's just for the briefest of moments. Now, obviously, while Captain America was able to escape the ship and we got a return to form, we still have to deal with the fact that a Skrull is masquerading as Captain America, and now, of course, all of this is going to come to a head, with Captain America finally being freed from the Skrull ship and on his way back to Earth. Skrull Captain America has spent a majority of his time trying to set up the downfall of the Avengers. He has the Avengers fractured along with his queen. They managed to fracture the Avengers. Captain America managed to put Hulk behind bars, keeping one of their strongest members away. Thor is still off in Asgard, so Thor is a non-factor. Tony, Black Panther, and Captain Marvel are all split apart and fractured. He has blown up the Avengers Mansion and the Armory, and now he is on national television telling everyone in America to surrender, that they should give up and just roll over for the Skrulls, and that the Skrulls will do what is best for them. And who would the American populace believe? Who would the world populace believe more than Captain America? One of the greatest superheroes in the world, somebody who is supposed to represent liberty, freedom, and doing what's right. So of course the people would listen to him. But when everything seemed most dire and at its worst, when the whole world was believing this false Captain America, this false Mockingbird, the Skrulls, the real Captain America showed back up on Earth, hoping to reclaim his face and reclaim his identity that had been stolen from him so many episodes ago, so many months ago in the show's timeline. Couple that with Tony Stark finding a way to force Skrulls to reveal themselves with no longer being able to use their transformation abilities, and exposing to the entire world that Captain America had been paraded as a Skrull for the last couple months. And now you have a recipe for Captain America to finally reclaim what is rightfully his. Also couple that with the fact that Thor is finally showing back up, and now we have a chance to actually see the Skrull invasion be finished in what has been a really great arc of the show, and it was only about 12 episodes in total. But it isn't over just yet, not until Captain America has to quite literally fight himself. But there's one thing Captain America has that the Skrull doesn't, and that's his human spirit. That's actually something we'll see brought up a lot of the times throughout this season, especially when Captain America is losing at just about anything.
Every thought you have. There's more to human beings than our bodies and minds. Something you'll never understand. Our spirit! We never surrender!
Anyone else find it funny that every single time humanity is depicted in any sort of fictional context, the only thing we have above every other species is our indeterminable will that will never let us stop? Just kind of feels like the brain awarding the brain at this point, but I digress. I guess I'm the only one that finds it funny. Regardless, this is Captain America's magnum opus. He has taken his face back. We have repelled the Skrulls from Earth, and we have successfully stopped the Skrull invasion, essentially. But that doesn't mean everything is just suddenly perfect. I think Thor puts it best at the very end of this episode. This isn't going to be some easy band-aid fix. Skrull Cap has impersonated Captain America and basically drug his reputation through the mud over the last couple of months, and that sucks.
Broken bones, destroyed buildings, these things are easily repaired. But broken friendships, broken trust, wounds such as these take much longer to heal.
And I think that leads to our first and actual major arc for Captain America in this first season, and that's his ruined public reputation, his ruined face, if you will. The very next episode we see is of Captain America's statue being defaced by the public. The people no longer believe in Captain America, a symbol that was once used as great heroism and as a great look at what we could be as people, as Americans, was just destroyed in the matter of a few months. And so the people no longer believe in Captain America. And so Tony Stark decides to try and help Cap, help get his reputation back, even if Captain America doesn't really care much for media interviews or really what the public thinks. And in doing so, we're actually introduced for the very first time to Spider-Man. Season 2 really does a great job of building out Earth's Mightiest Heroes' more broad Marvel universe. Fun fact, actually, this voice of Spider-Man is Drake Bell, which would go on to coincide with the new Spider-Man series coming out. But somewhere out there in the depths and void, there is a bunch of recordings of Josh Keaton's Spider-Man, who was originally supposed to be in this special episode. It was supposed to be Spectacular Spider-Man, not Ultimate Spider-Man, but somewhere along the lines that ended up getting changed when Disney bought Marvel. Back on topic, the entire plot of this episode revolves around the fact that Captain America and Peter Parker were supposed to be transporting members of the Serpent Society to prison. Now, of course, Spider-Man is Peter Parker, and so when things start to go wrong, Peter does suit up and decides to try and help Captain America. And what I find interesting throughout this video is that Captain America is inspired by Spider-Man. Captain America is very much inspired by the fact that Spider-Man does the right thing no matter what is happening. Even when Spider-Man is constantly being vilified by J. Jonah Jameson in the Daily Bugle, every time Spider-Man is called an evil villain by the media, he still stands by what he believes in. Spider-Man still fights hard every single day to save people and to protect the people of New York, and Captain America truly and deeply respects that, as Captain America is on the same side of the media that Spider-Man is on now. He is not seen as the local darling or the hero anymore, and he has to work to continue to do what he does, without caring about what his reputation is. And I think that's a really great part of this episode and really just showcases who Captain America is as a person.
You never asked for recognition, or reward, or even thanks. It doesn't matter what the newspapers say, or the politicians, or the whole world. They don't define who you are. You do. The truth will come out. But until then, I'm going to keep fighting. Just like you do.
Captain America spends a majority of this episode basically looking at Spider-Man and treating him as an equal, treating him as another one of the great heroes, even while he must protect people that he doesn't want to protect, such as civilians who are constantly berating both Captain America and Spider-Man, and the Serpent Society, who is trying to be freed. Captain America even goes out of his way to inspire Peter Parker, to tell them that he fights every single day and that holding up a building is not going to be enough to stop Spider-Man from being himself. Captain America is the ultimate inspiration in this episode, and I think it's wonderful. It's also worth noting, Captain America uses his old shield throughout this entire episode because he does not want to use modern technology. Just another bit that the Skrull seem to have forgotten about the true Captain America. I also just love this episode in general because I think it's pretty cool. So with Captain America's reputation in shambles, not just with the media, but with some of his own teammates, he has to focus on restoring his trust. The trust the people had in him, and the trust that his teammates had in him, even if it's just by going out and doing exactly what he was already doing. And this really starts when T'Challa offers to fix the real Captain America's shield by restoring the vibranium alloy inside of it. Now, T'Challa is simply doing this as a favor to Captain America, as the two were extremely close in the first season, often doing things that they believed was right even if it went against what some of the team wanted. Now, of course, Captain America brought Hawkeye along with him, and Hawkeye and Black Panther get into quite a few spats throughout this episode, as Hawkeye is frustrated that Black Panther would abandon the Avengers and in turn him, all because of the Skrull invasion when Hawkeye didn't give up on the team. And of course, Captain America being the person he is, he has to keep the peace throughout the entire episode because that's kind of his role. Now, outside of just that, another thing I wanted to touch on in this episode, conflict-wise, is that a being named Vision has come in search of Captain America's shield and wants to gather it, all for a nefarious purpose that the heroes don't know about yet, but I just wanted to bring up and mention Vision because he will be pretty important later. But the real reason I wanted to touch on this episode is that it's significant because Captain America not only gets his shield back, his symbol of who he is. That's why he loves the shield so much. It's a symbol of everything that he stands for. And I think that's important to his character and helping to rebuild his confidence considering what has been going on in the past over the last few months. That, and it's also significant because this is the time when T'Challa returns back to the Avengers, mostly because of Captain America's intervention and the fact that they went on this adventure together. We obviously see more examples throughout the rest of this second season of Captain America just restoring his image by being himself. In an episode in which 42, where the Avengers tend to keep just about every one of the villains they've defeated, is being attacked and ransacked by what would be later known as a Nihilus, as a Nihilus has come in order to steal all of the energy that the prison has. Now, of course, Captain America is cut off from a majority of S.H.I.E.L.D. and a majority of the Avengers, and they are way outnumbered and wouldn't be able to defeat all of the forces in front of them, so Captain America has an idea. Captain America decides to enlist a few of the villains that are captured at 42 for their help in defeating all of Annihilus's different demons that he is bringing with him to assault 42. Now, Captain America not only offers to do this, but he also offers to speak at each and every one of these villains' parole hearings as a way to thank them for doing this. And Captain America does follow through with this.
We fought on opposite sides in the past, and each one of you is in this prison for a reason. But these insects, whatever they are, they're marshaling to attack in force. And when they do, they will destroy everyone and everything here before swarming to Earth. Fight them with us, And I will personally testify on your behalves at your parole hearings. Or do nothing and wait for them in your cells.
Mainly because Captain America's word to him is bond. It actually means something. And so a few of the villains are released, all in the event of helping the Avengers do what they need to do. But they don't release one villain. Captain America refuses to trust Baron Zemo. He thinks it is far too dangerous to let Zemo out of his cell, and once again, through Captain America's belief in people, he is able to rally the villains to help stave off Annihilus, and at the end of the day, it was actually the leader, one of Hulk's villains, that saved the day. Now, remember how I had mentioned Vision would be important later, earlier? Well, here we go again. It's another episode in which the plot is Ultron wants to replace the Avengers with robot mechanical versions of themselves, all in a bid to help control the world. You know, obviously Captain America getting kidnapped and replaced wouldn't happen again, right? I mean, it's already happened twice, could never happen a third time. Regardless, Captain America didn't actually allow himself to be captured. He instead pretended to be captured and decided to work as one of Ultron's subordinates, all in the event that hopefully he could save the Avengers, specifically from Ultron's brand new body and from the Vision. And he was willing to do this by holding on to and using modern technology. I think that's a big step for Captain America, but I think what really gave him away in the end was the fact that he still kept and held on to his old shield on his back, because Ultron knew who he was from the start. But that doesn't stop Captain America from doing exactly what he believes is right, even if he's completely outmatched. And oddly enough, it's in his speech to Vision that he inspires Vision to be better than he is currently.
Cannot win. What do you have to gain? You think I'm fighting for me? To save my own life? That's why you'll never win. I'm not fighting for me. I'm fighting for them. And that—
It was through this speech that Captain America was able to inspire a change in Vision. And when the chips were laid down and Captain America could no longer fight in order to save the Avengers, it would actually be Vision who would save them that day by freeing the Avengers. All of that coming off the back of Captain America's speech that he was not just fighting for himself. And I believe Captain America really got a kick out of this, and he really felt a type of way for Vision, because he goes back to save Vision.
Come on, Cap, we have to move.
I'm going after Vision.
What? That thing just tried to kill us all. It's just a machine. Let it burn.
At the end of the day, Captain America didn't view Vision as nothing more than a machine when this episode was all said and done. He viewed Vision as a person with feelings and complex emotions, and so Captain America went back to save him, because Captain America believes in people even if they don't come in the traditional form factor or sense like everybody else does. And next up, I want to talk about Powerless. Now, Powerless doesn't really have a place that fits in nicely to this episode, so I'm just going to stick it in chronological order. Captain America, Thor, and Iron Man are all stripped of their superhero abilities, and of course, they must fight and be heroes even without their powers. Now, Captain America is of course the most well-adjusted to doing this. He was willing to be a hero and fight before the super soldier serum, and so nothing's changed when it's taken away from him or while he has it. He's still Captain America, and he firmly believes that. As a matter of fact, this episode is far more focused, I feel, on Thor and him understanding what it means to be human, as Captain America goes on to quite literally inspire Thor to do better throughout a majority of this episode. And so I just wanted to touch on it quickly and briefly.
The element of surprise. No matter what, we're still Avengers, and they're still a threat.
This episode shows that even when Captain America is at his lowest, he is still one of the Avengers' greatest leaders, and that's just because of his spirit as a person. And I think that ties in nicely to the next arc I want to talk about. He doesn't just sport a generic sense of leadership. No, Captain America sports an intimate type of leadership based on his teammate, because Captain America understands his team. And I think this is showcased fairly well in a couple of episodes that I want to cover. Starting with the episode in which the entire world is taken over by Purple Man, who is using Tony Stark as a way to amplify his powers. Now, Purple Man is a really crazy dude in the comics that obviously they couldn't touch too crazy on what he actually does in the show. But for the purposes of the show, he just simply is controlling everybody to make the world just as he wants and using Tony Stark's technology to amplify his control. Now, Vision, of course, is left alone and is one of the only Avengers unaffected by Purple Man due to the fact that he is a machine. Now, Vision ends up running into Captain America, who is under Purple Man's control. But oddly enough, Captain America is the first Avenger to break out of Purple Man's control. Part of it is Vision's convincing, but another part of it truly is Captain America's will, his will to do what's right. And so he has to help Vision secure the rest of the Avengers and to snap them out of their purple manic days, if you will. And Captain America does this first and foremost with Hawkeye. He is able to basically gaslight Hawkeye into breaking out of Purple Man's control by playing at Hawkeye's ego and basically saying that nobody could control Hawkeye except for Hawkeye, and that if he is letting him do such a thing, then he must not be the real Hawkeye or he must be a faker. And Captain America quite literally just gaslights him into breaking Purple Man's control, which I find to be really cool, but it also shows a depth of understanding from Captain America's part on Hawkeye. But his understanding of his teammates isn't great enough in order to fully subvert the Purple Man's influence, as he has an extremely strong hold on Tony Stark. But Captain America still tries. He will never stop trying, and that's the best part about him. And at the end of the episode, when Tony Stark is quite literally at his lowest, believing that everything Purple Man did was already inside of him, that he wasn't building towards the future that he really truly believed in, Captain America was right there to pick him up, and he was right there to believe in him as another hero. And I think that's amazing.
But I believe in people, and I choose to believe in you, Iron Man.
But not everything was going swimmingly, as if you remember back to the first episode we covered, Captain America and Baron von Strucker were fighting over something called the Cosmic Cube. The Cosmic Cube was said to be able to give the user one of their wishes. No matter what it was, the wish would be granted. Now, it was assumed the cube was defective and that it did not work, but when Captain America touched it, he ended up creating a partial wish. I believe both Baron von Strucker's wish and Captain America's wish came true at the same time. Captain America's wish was to have Bucky Barnes come back from the dead, and Baron von Strucker's wish was to have Hydra return to its former glory and for Hydra to rule the world. And I think both ended up culminating into one combined wish that ended in a not so great manner. This all starts with Captain America being infected by a virus that gave him the appearance of the Red Skull, his greatest nemesis from World War II. Now, this virus will spread quickly and will basically render superhumans innate and useless. But even in this inebriated and terrible state, Captain America was still looking after his fellow Avengers and was still looking out for the people around him. And that's all until he would see the Winter Soldier, who we would later come to find out is Bucky Barnes. Now, Bucky had only shown up in order to kidnap Captain America. That was his sole reason for showing up to Avengers Mansion. And of course, by the time Tony Stark has developed a cure for the virus, Captain America is already been kidnapped and is no longer in the Avengers Mansion to be given the cure. To make matters even worse, it was revealed that one of the United States Senate members who has been lobbying against the Avengers and has been making their life hell expeditiously and has been passing terrible pieces of legislation the entire time, as it turns out, he is the Red Skull. And that is something that Captain America figures out in this episode. That's part of the reason why I believe Baron Strucker's wish did come true, is because the Red Skull was officially a part of the United States government, and Captain America did in turn, even in a very messed up way, get his best friend back. Now, Bucky is at this point still mind controlled and under the control of the Red Skull, but it is through seeing Captain America and through seeing Steve get beat up repeatedly by the Red Skull that Bucky has a change of heart. And in this change of heart, Bucky ultimately decides to give the cure to Captain America in order to enable him to be able to take out the Red Skull, and all of this out of nothing but sheer loyalty that Bucky felt for Captain America. And in that way, he was able to overcome the years of brainwashing he had undergone by both Hydra and the Red Skull. Now, Captain America isn't 100% sure at this point whether or not the Winter Soldier is Bucky. And so for him, this is an extreme shell shock. He has finally been able to start to move away from his past and be able to live in the modern day. But having someone like Bucky just reemerge into his life stirs up a lot of issues for Captain America, and it kind of gets his head all screwed off as he was just about to get it straight after dealing with a Skrull invasion and having to try and rebuild his personal image. And in order to get any sort of information, Captain America tries to interrogate the Red Skull, but the Skull pretty much only has insults for the Captain. He does not care much to give any sort of information, but rather just insult him for letting the Red Skull get into the US Senate, pass legislation, and also just insult him for the fact that he stole his best friend from him, while not outright stating that. And to make things even worse, there are now sleeper agents of Hydra who have let the Red Skull out of prison and have used a bunch of technology to create gigantic robots that are basically more technologically advanced than the majority of tech seen in this show, and are ripping just about everybody in the show apart. Even the Avengers struggle with dealing with these pieces of tech. And Captain America believes that the only key to success in figuring out how to stop Skull and these sleeper agents is by contacting Nick Fury to find out who the Winter Soldier is, and hopefully on Captain America's end, reveal that the Winter Soldier is potentially his friend Bucky Barnes.
If there's even a chance that he's... I have to know the truth. Will you help me or not?
He enlists the help of Nick Fury, all in the event of hopefully getting to Bucky Barnes. But something I haven't really touched on is the psychological effects that years of torture and losing an arm have had on Bucky himself. He has been used as a brainwashed weapon of mass destruction for the organization he hated the most back when he was fighting on the Allies' side for the past couple decades. All while Captain America slept in ice and let the world pass by, Bucky had to live through all of it. And that has clearly changed him not only physically, but psychologically. Now, of course, the show can't touch too hard on this specific portion of the character as it's a children's show, and it's a little bit difficult to work the Winter Soldier into a children's show, but I think they did a pretty good job of doing so. Now, both Captain America and the Winter Soldier were able to thwart Red Skull's big plan to take over all of America using sleeper agents, and in doing so, Captain America once again goes out of his way to save people. He goes out of his way to save Bucky and to hopefully give him a chance to not only redeem himself, but figure out what's going on in his head, even if Bucky wanted to do so on his own. Captain America was able to respect that, as long as he knew that Bucky was safe and alive out there outside. His one unfortunate wish turned out to be a fairly fortunate one in the end.
I hope you find what you're looking for, soldier.
10-4, Cap. Bucky out.
And with the Winter Soldier not only found out, but helped, Captain America had at least one more friend that he owed help. That being the Hulk. If you remember way back early near the start of this video, Skrull Captain America had convinced Hulk to turn himself in to the proper authorities and to be held in court and in prison, all for crimes that he just didn't commit. And so one of Captain America's first things that he wants to do is to get Hulk out of that prison. And that is because Captain America firmly believes that Hulk is a hero and not a monster, and that he believes Hulk should be out there helping people and that he shouldn't be locked up in a prison. But unfortunately, the second Bruce Banner was let out of his prison cage, he ends up immediately turning into the Hulk and flying into what looks like a complete blind rage in which Hulk is uncontrollable and attacking everyone around him. But Captain America doesn't buy this, not even for a second. And he especially doesn't buy when Red Hulk, who had attacked previously in the show, shows up and decides to not only take out Hulk, but help the Avengers. Captain America doesn't buy it one bit. Especially not when the media is portraying Red Hulk as some sort of great savior when they were just lambasting both him and Hulk for being false heroes. He doesn't buy that one bit, and actually Captain America is extremely frustrated that the rest of the Avengers seem to be buying into the Red Hulk hype and seem to be forgetting about Hulk himself.
And what about Bruce? Do we just leave him locked up?
You saw him, Cap.
Yes, I did. And you of all people, Wasp. You should know better. We don't give up on friends.
Cap straight up refused to give up on his friend, on his teammate, and he believed that Bruce Banner could not only be saved, but that something was nefarious at play, specifically regarding Red Hulk. He didn't trust the dude at all, and I think that is very important to note, that Captain America truly believed in his people at all costs. So much so that he decided to not only enlist the help of Wasp, but break into the facility that Bruce Banner was being held at, all in the event of freeing Bruce Banner and seeing what was actually causing him to fly into these uncontrollable rages. And as Captain America suspected, as it turns out, with the help of Wasp, there was a microchip that was causing Hulk to fly into rages constantly. And only Captain America truly believed in saving Hulk from this.
It wasn't you. You didn't betray me, did you?
No, I didn't. But the implant. Who did this to you?
We would come to find out that just as Captain America suspected, Red Hulk was the villain in this situation. He had planted the implant on Hulk, in hopes of taking his spot on the Avengers and finally getting Hulk arrested after all of these years. And even when fighting Red Hulk, Hulk proves that he is a hero first and foremost, and that he would rather save people than engage in senseless violence. Something Red Hulk gives little care to if it's not for more than his public image. Now, even Tony wasn't this easily fooled. He had a contingency plan for Red Hulk just in case he was a bad guy. And as it turns out, General Ross is Red Hulk, a man who has been spending years hunting Hulk and trying to imprison him. And the only Avenger to believe in Hulk was Captain America. He believed in him until the very end of this episode, assuming that Hulk wouldn't attack General Ross because Hulk isn't a monster. And it was with that Hulk was formally welcomed to become an Avenger once again. But Hulk just honestly needed some alone time after dealing with all of this, and simply thanked Captain America for being the one Avenger that truly believed in him. But it's even more than that. In an episode in which the Kree have basically started to open a wormhole in front of the sun to use Earth as a strategic base like they wanted to earlier in the season, it would rip a black hole through the sun and basically do exactly what Kang prophesized. That being destroying the sun and thereby destroying the entire Earth. Now, in order to stop this, T'Challa would have to sacrifice his life. And I want you to keep in mind that Captain America doesn't want this to happen. The Captain wants to go out of his way to save T'Challa's life. It is interesting, the exact moment that Kang predicted the world would be over by Captain America's hand, he would have done it by trying to save one of his allies.
We're not leaving him behind, Tony.
Cap, this is it. This is the moment Kang talked about. The decision you make right now. This is what determines the future.
If we don't shut down this wormhole, it's over for everyone.
Iron Man is correct, Captain.
This is the only thing that matters.
Him destroying the world was never about a grab for power, a grab for him doing something wrong. It was never Skrull Captain America. It would have been because Captain America believes in saving as many people as possible. He believes in saving the maximum amount of people available. Now, it is also worth noting, T'Challa survives because it's a children's cartoon and he just kind of jumped with them to the Kree homeworld. And when they arrive on the Kree homeworld, they decide to try and destroy the Central Intelligence, which runs the Kree military. And at the end of the day, Marvel, Captain Marvel, decides to destroy the Kree intelligence. And in doing so, he dooms the Kree people because without their intelligence, there is nothing left. Except he looks to the humans and to Captain America for guidance, and Captain America gives him that. sets himself as a shining example once again.
The leadership of the intelligence, the military will fall apart. There will be chaos, riots. All systems will break down. The Kree people will meet their end.
There's another choice, Marvell. You can be an example to the Kree. You can show the Kree that there's another way. A better way. You can lead them.
Now, I believe every single event we've seen Captain America trudge through from the first season until this very end season was all building up to Captain America taking over leadership of the Avengers. Captain America is a true natural-born leader, and while Tony Stark has maintained the leadership position for a majority of this show, it is by the end of season 2, not only from an arc that Captain America has gone through, but also an arc that Tony Stark himself has gone through, that Tony, when all of the chips are down and the entire world is being threatened by one final big bad, that being Galactus, who threatens to eat the entire world whole, Captain America is given full leadership of not only the Avengers, but of every single superhero left in the known universe.
Cap, this is it. Everything we've been talking about. The future of the Avengers, what we mean to this world. This is it.
You're the leader of this team, Tony.
And I'm smart enough to know that the stakes are too high this time. We're gonna need everyone on this. And as good as I am, you're the right man for the job, Steve.
Jarvis, put out the call. Code White.
We get an extremely cool scene of each and every one of the potential Avengers candidates and reserve members all being shown to get together and sort of get their gear ready to become Avengers for the day in order to save the world. Whether it's single heroes, Fantastic Four, the Hulk, hell, even Wolverine is included in this whole thing because yes, Wolverine's in this show. The Heroes for Hire, War Machine. It's like this really cool suit up scene and it feels like one gigantic finale and an encompassment of everything that's happened throughout this entire first and second season. Captain America splits everybody into fire teams, and it is through his leadership and Tony's brilliance that they are able to not only trap Galactus, but for now at least defeat him. And so the Avengers would be remembered as the world's mightiest heroes in its totality. And that's just kind of it. I really enjoy getting to watch Captain America specifically through this second season. I felt that he had a lot more to do with the central plot, and I just had a lot more to talk about with him in this season. And I also kind of wanted this to be my last little send-off to this version of Captain America. A culmination of all the things that I love about his character were put into this show, and I feel it is the best iteration of him. Now, I feel a lot of people look back on the first season as being perfect and the second season as not so much. I actually found elements of the second season to just be better. Now, were there some things that I would have changed and would have liked to have been different? Yes, but I'll get to those when I come up on the characters I'm talking about regarding that. But just for this, I wanted to say this was amazing. It was and is my favorite iteration of Captain America, and I think it's perfect, or at least near perfect. And I wanted this to be my final send-off to the character because I don't really plan to talk about Captain America in the foreseeable future after this video. He was the first, actually it's funny, Captain America was one half of the first video I ever posted to blow up and get over 10,000 views. And he was the first character I had dropped a video on that garnered over 100,000 views. So Captain America holds a special place in my heart on this channel as much as Hulk does. So yeah, I just really wanted to take a moment and say thank you to all of you who have stuck by me and keep watching all of these videos. You guys are amazing. Yeah, I don't know if you guys can tell, I'm still feeling a little bit under the weather. I picked up a sickness quite literally like the last day of my vacation, but I still wanted to come home. I still want to get this video out to y'all because I love doing this. I know I put out a lot of content and you guys keep asking me how I do it, and in all honesty, it's y'all. The comments, the likes, the engagement keeps me making want more and more videos. I want to put out more and more videos for y'all. As for me, this is like my outlet. I love to make these videos, and I love that you guys have given me the platform to make them, so thank you. If you want to leave me a like, go ahead and leave me a like. If you want to leave me a dislike, please dislike, and then let me know what's up in the comments. Like, comment down below and tell me why. If you don't like the video, of course, you know, dislike. If you feel so inclined, the sub button is free and you can always unsub later, and I truly appreciate it. Now, for those of you who support me on Patreon, you guys are amazing. I offer a couple of tiers. You get to see all of my videos early and unedited. And finally, to those in the $5 and above tier, you guys get a shout out at the end of every single video because y'all are the goats. So let's go with Golden Boy 420. We have Dakota Rawson, Donovan Gomez, MC Bomb 27. Thank you all for everything, and I hope you all have an absolutely fantastic day.